Hey guys, how's it going? Have you ever been talking to a Jehovah's Witness about the contradictions found in the literature provided by the Watchtower Society, or the inconsistencies with the teachings versus what is printed in the New World Translation Bible? And maybe they've actually agreed with you. However, after acknowledging these truths, they still continue to believe what they believed before, and they don't pursue with any examination of the religion. And this is an example that happened to me pretty recently. I was communicating with a person online who is a former friend, was a friend of mine at one point while I was still in the religion. And she asked me why I left, and she was hoping that we could have talked about it prior to my decision. And through a few emails back and forth, I explained to her some issues that had been concerns of mine for quite some time. And one of the strongest issues was the cover-up and payoff of for victims of sexual abuse within the congregations. And having been a rape victim myself, I feel very strongly about this sort of conduct, especially in a religious organization where there's children and a lot of vulnerable people. And I also don't believe that a stupid policy should be the determining factor of whether a person is guilty of sexual misconduct, especially in cases where the offender has already admitted the allegations are true. I also presented the fact to her that Charles Taze Russell was an apostate himself, that he left the Adventist faith in order to start his own brand of religion. I pointed out that if she actually knew the definition of the word apostate, that she would know that he himself is or was an apostate, and therefore she is following apostate teachings. She asked me how I could accept apostate literature, which led me to the response that I gave her, mentioning various problems and issues within the congregations. Her response to me basically was that she wasn't going to do anything to jeopardize her position in the congregation, i.e. her relationship with Jehovah and the future of her children, and basically told me to take care. That's the kind of friendship that you get in the Kingdom Hall when you decide to have your own thoughts and investigate and find out what's really going on. So I took this to mean that she wasn't going to be talking to me anymore, even though I gave her clear and concise explanations for my stand, and pointed out to her obvious facts about the religion. She still wasn't going to budge in her religious belief, and that's fine. I can accept that. What I'm trying to convey is confirmation bias. This is a psychological term, and confirmation bias is a type of selective thinking where an individual tends to look for things that confirm the beliefs they have established, while ignoring or undervaluing the contradictions that they've learned about their beliefs. These people give an excessive value to the positive aspects of their stand because it's easier to deal with in their brain. It's easier to find and look for the things that you like about what you're doing, instead of accepting facts that prove to you that maybe what you're doing isn't right. It's very difficult to accept conflicting information about the Watchtower and its teachings, especially for people who have been in the organization a long time. And that's all they pretty much know. Their friends are established there, and even though they themselves may disagree with some things that come out in the publications, they just kind of keep it to themselves. It's just like, excuse me, it's just like when you were an active witness, you yourself were probably ready to defend your beliefs at any point, and anybody that opposed what you said, basically you just chalk them up to ignorance or whatever your personality was. And there are some things that are good that happen while you're in the Kingdom Hall. A lot of people quit smoking. They change their life around. A lot of people don't quit smoking and just pretend that they did. You know, and there's the association, and you do have friends, and, you know, from time to time you do feel some love. How long that feeling of real love lasts, I guess, is up to the individual and what they're going through. At one point, nobody could have told you different, and if they had, you wouldn't focus your thoughts on the negative things that somebody was telling you about your religion or your views. You just said to yourself, you know, well, Jehovah will take care of it. You know, if there was something that you didn't agree with, or for instance, when allegations of child abuse come up, you know, saying things like he keeps his house clean, everything done in the dark will come to the light, and yada yada yada, those type of cover-up, cookie-cutter answers, so that you don't have to think about anything. You can just leave it in Jehovah's hands. That basically gets rid of your thinking. This is confirmation bias, basically finding out things that are negative about what you believe to be something really great. This is why it's almost impossible to talk to a devout Jehovah's Witness in any sort of depth about anything that is not printed by the Watchtower, because they firmly in their heart believe that if there's anything that's going to be bad about the society, that they themselves will in fact tell on themselves. And well, if you've watched some of these videos on YouTube, you know that that's not true. Basically, it's just easier to contend with mentally. A quote from James Bryce, a British statesman, sums it up very nicely. He says, "To most people, nothing is more troublesome than the effort of thinking." Don't be a non-thinker.